Alright, we are setting up the Roku Ultra 2020 here, and I'm going to show you just how fast this goes. This is a really quick setup compared to other Rokus. You see that we're going through the wireless network selection right now. And of course, right here, we're going to show you how this keyboard works. If you need to get to any particular symbols, they are all available over here on the right side of the keyboard. Most people are just going to be sticking with the normal English stuff. And up at the top there is the cap locks, in case you have a very capital letter ridden password. But what we're going to do here is we're going to skip me actually putting my password in and show you that it finds your wireless and internet connections very quickly. Now, if you have the choice, plug it in. But you see, it automatically found it, no problem. Roku's going to find what kind of TV you've got hooked up to it and move into the remote control setup so that you can control the volume and power. You just follow the on-screen instructions. It plays music. If you can hear it, you say yes. If not, you say no. And it brings you to this brand selector. And here's a really cool touch. I've got this hooked up to a Hisense Roku TV. Hisense makes a lot of different kinds of TVs. And this actually recognizes it. It actually has a setting for Roku TVs, see? Now, I'm not going to put this setting in because I don't want something else to control the TV and something else to control the Roku. It can get kind of confusing because I've got a lot of hardware here. So I'm going to back out of this screen and just move along. The remote will still control the Roku even if it doesn't control the TV, but that is a really cool option. It makes the TV much more universal. This is a new quirk. Instead of typing in a special code from the screen on a website, what this does now is ask you to put in your email address, which I'm not going to show you if you don't mind. But let's just say I'm typing in my email address right now, or you're typing in your email address. As long as you have your email already pulled up, you just open up your inbox, click on the link they provide you, and which is what I'm doing right now in real time, and you'll see this launches almost directly in to getting you started. It takes you to a Roku screen. You answer a couple of questions. They're not all that deep. You can skip it if you like, and then boom, you start with the actual rest of your Roku setup, which with the Roku Ultra, it only takes a couple of minutes. Me, it took about 45 seconds, depending on how many channels you've got. And from there, it moves on in, updating channels and boosting the entertainment choices. Didn't have time to align those solar panels like usual. So now we're in. This is all set up, and we're going to take a look at the menu and how those main functions work. So here we go, and boom. We're at the home screen. The home screen should be familiar for anybody who's had a Roku. If you have not used a Roku before, the home screen is where you're going to find all of your installed apps. In this case, Roku calls their apps channels. So that's the Roku channel, that's the Plex channel, and so on. And, any other streaming device, they call these same things apps. But they're exactly the same, just so you know if you're reading about, what apps or channels Roku has. Featured Free is a section of the Roku that they have set up so that you can find content that is available to view without any kind of a subscription within various Roku channels. You'll find that some things are totally free. In the case of something like This Is Us, it's going to launch into the NBC app. You can see that up top. And they have multiple episodes of the show, but you can't watch every single episode from start to finish. They've even got a line of things from the premium channels, which is nice. This is things, from HBO and Showtime. The idea behind it is, you check out an episode of Game of Thrones and you're like, I really like that. I think I'm going to sign up for HBO or HBO Max whenever it happens. By the time I finish editing this video, it'll probably be on the Roku. But you can access live TV feeds through this. That's a really nice feature. A lot of these live TV feeds are actually built right into the Roku channel itself. But this is what you get with Featured Free. It's just a whole bunch of things that are free on the Roku, whether it's free channels, free programming. Programming sounds like an old man. Free TV shows and movies, right? Hey, look, it's All I Want for Christmas Is Mariah Carey. So that is the Featured Free section. My feed is a place where you're going to find things that you're following. You can follow movies and TV shows and find out when they're available on the Roku. The movie and TV store from Fandango is another way to access content, but this is stuff you're going to pay for. This is just like other video rental services. They have TV shows, they have movies, they have, sometimes they have specials, but it's always going to cost you money. This is not part of the featured free stuff. But there is a lot out there if you want to jump in. If you don't have cable, maybe you just want to buy your favorite TV show. That's a cool choice. Now, the thing that really sets Roku apart from other items, though, is their search capability. It cannot be stated enough. For instance, you can look for people, you can look for movies, you can look for the types of channels you want, you can look for the type of content that you want. I always look for something like Tom Hanks, because he's sort of like a universally known actor who's had a long filmography as a writer, director, actor. So we're going to jump into like Tom Hanks. I'm going to press OK, and it will then display everything you can see on Roku dealing with Tom Hanks. And take a look, starting back in 1981, 1983, all these old movies. And so if you click on a movie, for instance, like this Volunteers from 85, you can see that you can watch it on HBO if you've got it, or rent it for $2.99 from Fandango now. Apparently you can't rent it from many other places. You can buy it from iTunes for $7.99 and buy it from Google Play for $9.99. Now, the reason I point out these prices is you're going to find this all the time while you're looking through Roku's search here. Sometimes a movie is free. Sometimes it's, free, and also you can buy it for $19.99. I mean, you just never know. And what this search allows you to do is find out exactly what you want to see and where you want to see it. Because if you've already got a subscription to Netflix but buy a movie on iTunes, you're going to be like, don't! So, again, that's just a really great advantage of Roku. It's a very deep search. Something else I love about Roku is that it doesn't favor just 5 or 6 main apps. A lot of things say, oh, we have a universal search, but really it's going to return Netflix, Hulu, Crackle, and some of the big ones. So I'm just going to look up vampire here, because there's lots and lots of movies and TV shows with vampire in the name. So if that's your thing, like my mother-in-law, you're going to want to look in, not that my mother-in-law is a vampire, she likes vampires. You're going to take a look and you see this movie Vampire from 2011. It's available free and for $4. And the thing is, you might have never heard of some of the services that come up. You saw Movie Sphere listed. I've never heard of Movie Sphere, and I do this all the time. So, that's cool. Then you can go ahead and follow it on Roku, and this is what shows up in my feed, which I showed you earlier. So you just say we're going to follow Roku, and it's available through the Roku channel in the Movie Sphere. Let's see what else is listed under Vampire. Got the Vampire Diaries. This is one where you can see the entire series through Netflix or pay $1.99 per episode. I mean, I know you might think Netflix is overpriced and all, but if you're talking about 8 seasons of a show at $1.99 a piece, maybe, you want to give Netflix a look again if you're very interested in watching the Vampire Diaries. Here you've got a movie just called The Vampire. It's on Criterion Channel. while Vampire from 1957 is available to rent, only rent. And see, I really like the way they do this. Vampire Hunter D, it's a classic. It's only available on this Manga TV. I've never heard of Manga TV until I found it through Roku. And see, that's the thing, is it's like it really is like a deep Google search for apps and movies. So I love that. I really, really love that. Now, if you're just looking for your basic channels, like what you want to watch, Netflix, Hulu, things like that, Roku has the most extensive app store out there. And I think it's the most organized. Up top, they try to sort of get you started. I think a lot of these things, they look like almost like advertisements, because you can see the same heavy hitters again and again and again. Like, you'll notice almost every single one of these has Hulu or Apple TV Plus listed. But in the channel search, again, this is just like the other search, except that it's limited to just channels. So if you look up Tom Hanks here, you would have to have a Tom Hanks channel to show up. Sometimes there's themes, so if we're going to look up Batman, but there doesn't seem to be any Batman, so we'll just do like we did in the first time. We're going to look up Vampire. And see, there's 2 channels with Vampire in the name. You can look at here. You can see whether it's free or not. You can find out what the channel is going to deal with, because it gives you a little description. Silent vampire stories. But see, you can find channels based on topic just by looking for them. And then Roku gives you a huge breakdown of different things. Your premium services are the ones that I said that always show up in searches. HBO, Netflix, the things that everybody knows about if they know anything about streaming. But they also help you, just like they do on the homepage, finding free content. There is, of course, the rental section. This is everybody else outside of Fandango. They even have a cable alternative section, which is really cool. What this lets you do is sign up for services like Vidgo here that allow you to replace your cable TV for a monthly fee with no subscription. There's some really good stuff out there for some really good deals, though some of them are getting a little more expensive. Watch with Cable here is a section based on, if you have pay TV subscriptions, you can use apps based on the main big channels through cable and watch archived content. Sometimes you can do a live stream. But in general, you see that Roku has a lot of different categories broken down. Music, sports, lifestyle, apps, and you're going to have lots and lots of options. For instance, music here, you got 804 options. Does it have the big ones that you might have heard about, like iHeartRadio? Oh yeah, you better believe it. The games section of Roku is kind of a time killer. These are not, long form RPG, strategic games. They're just kind of like something you'd pull out of your pocket and play, like a little Sudoku or something like that. But you see, as you scroll down, there's just tons and tons of channels, tons and tons of categories, and they're always updating it. My offers is sort of like a commercial. I mean, really, they're just saying, hey, look at the stuff we've got on sale. And that's always what you're going to find there. But we're going to start looking more into the basic settings and what I like about this. You notice our background here is like space. It's like stars. You can go into the Roku and select multiple kinds of wallpapers depending on what it is that you like. And when you change the wallpaper, it changes the whole look of your Roku. Even better, with the new Roku Ultra, you can, if you enter into one of these pure out themes, it even changes the sounds and the little quirks that the Roku does, selecting things, jumping in and out of a menu. It's really cool. It almost sounds like something from Star Trek or something like that, if you want to nerd out a little bit. I love the seasonal themes. What that means is that if you're on a seasonal theme and say Thanksgiving is a couple of days away from when we're making this video, it will show up like a turkey. There'll be like Thanksgiving themed things. It might be snowing or, show a big dinner table. Christmas, the same thing. New Year's, 4th of July. You can get to all of your main settings, though, in the Roku menu, including these very important settings for people who have various disabilities. Audio guide that you might have noticed there is a biggie because it will read you the menu, and a lot of items don't do that. A lot of these streaming devices are nice but don't have that sort of thing. But you can access all of your main settings in this menu without having to dig too deep. It's not like a computer where it's, file, username, folder, subreddit, blah, 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 blah. It's just a list right in front of you. 1 or 2 clicks gets you into everything, including resetting the device and getting it back on the network if you have to move it or if your internet gets knocked out. It's all right there, which is why Roku makes such a point to be simple. I like not having to figure things out very much, and I especially like this when I'm setting something up for somebody who isn't a techie. Some techies just like diving in, but if we're talking about an older parent or just a Luddite out there, and there's nothing wrong with being a Luddite or an older parent, just you can put this in place and they won't get confused and open up all the wrong windows and things like that, like on a laptop or a smartphone or something like that. So you see, very straightforward. And so let's just do a little bit of, show you a little bit about the speed of the Roku. And that is really one of the coolest things about it is, just like with the setup, it launches really quick. I'm not going to open a whole ton of apps, but we're going to go to the granddaddy of them all, Netflix. And I'm going to show you that Netflix runs on the Roku Ultra really fast. So we're just going to jump into one of the profiles here. So we're going to do this in Promised Neverland. Of course, it launches into a little preview, but you play, it immediately starts. But just to give you an example, I'll go to something that isn't already playing. We'll go to more episodes. Boom. It's starting. And that's very fast. I don't know how fast you want your media to start, but that is quick. So no Roku review would be complete without a take a look at the Roku channel. And on the Roku Ultra, the Roku channel performs splendidly. If you've never seen the Roku channel, we're highlighting it because it's another one of the free ways to watch TV on the Roku. There's a lot of options. As you see, the basic channel looks almost like an old school streaming app. It's rows of content broken up by content. There's some really great stuff on here, though. What they do is they pull in content from multiple channel partners. They also have some things that they contract, completely through them. You see they've got a lot of good kids content. And, there's cartoons, educational thing. This live TV section is cool because you can just click on it. You can sit down. You can just watch TV the old-fashioned way. But there are multiple categories. And the Roku channel is actually also sort of a store. The thing is that if you subscribe to channels through the Roku channel, like these guys, what's going to happen is when you jump into the live TV grid that I'm going to show you in a minute, it will set it up just like a cable channel. It's just in there in the live TV grid along with all of these other things. You can always check the Roku channel to see if you can get any discounts on some things. Like Black Friday, there's going to be crazy deals like $1 for 2 months of showtimes and things like that. So you can always look in there and see if there's something worth trying out. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump in with the live view. I've got to find it real quick. I think I skipped through it. Not up here. It's probably on the live row. I should have just thought of that the first time. But let's see. Okay, there we are. So this live TV guide is something completely different. It's a grid of programming that comes from the internet, and, well, obviously, but it's really cool because what it does is puts all of these things together just like a TV guide would, just like, you have on your cable. It reminds me a lot of, things that we see from apps like Pluto TV and Zuma. But it's really nice because it breaks things down. It has a lot of different groups of channels for every genre. So it has some sports channels and some comedy channels, things like that. And it's all right there to flip through. And like I said, you can just start something and watch and relax, and you don't have to worry about anything else. No more choosing. If that's what you like, you've obviously got thousands of options on the Roku to do that. But this is pretty cool. So, wanted to get that shown to you. It wouldn't be right not to. And we're going to move on and finish this up with a couple of feelings. The new Roku Ultra is an excellent product. That big upgrade in speed and power is very, very noticeable with setup, resetting, anything like that. It's for sure worth the upgrade if you've got one of the older models. So there's a lot of people who are still holding on to a Roku 2 or Roku 3, something from almost 8 or 9 years ago. You're going to notice a huge difference if you go ahead and upgrade. If you've already got last year's Roku Ultra, there is a difference. I tested the speed. It's a couple of seconds faster launching shows. But in general, if you've been waiting, putting off upgrading because, well, the other one still works, the difference between the other one still works and what you get out of a brand new system, for less than $100, if you've got a little money to spend, and I know some of us don't. It's not been a good couple of months. But if you're looking for an upgrade and you can find a good deal, you won't regret getting a new Roku Ultra at all. It's really strong, it's powerful, and it really delivers. It's the best Roku I've seen by far. I hope you found that helpful. If you do, please subscribe and share this video with your friends. Click the likes and the alerts so you can get our newest videos when they come out. As always, I'm Ryan Downey, the Streaming Advisor. Stream on, my friends.